And today, hi Dean. Today we are going to be talking about the actually most confusing part of the process. So if you're new to the industry, the thing that could hang you up and most likely will hang you up and getting things done is sourcing your fabric, picking out your fabric. Hello, Anna from Galiano Island. Wow, BC. Welcome. Hello from Las Vegas, Michelle. And Paris, aspiring kids clothing designer from Atlanta. Oh, we got a couple people from Atlanta. Exciting. Okay, so I'm going to give you the basics today of fabric, of how to work with fabric vendors. And so they will be more likely to work with you. Because when you are new to the industry, that is probably the part that, it's confusing. And if you're approaching the fabric vendor in the wrong way, you're less likely to get what you need. So we're going to talk about that a lot today. An overview of what you can expect to learn today. We're going to talk about tips for sourcing the right fabric and trims, tips for getting those fabric vendors to take you seriously, 6 basic questions to ask them. And then we're going to go a little bit into some basic things you need to know about fabric, characteristics, and then some vocab. And Dean is from Los Angeles. No problem. Thanks, Dean. An overview of the 4-step process that I've been working with new apparel entrepreneurs for years. And I have developed these 4 steps because when you have an idea and you want to go get some clothing manufactured, you have to go through these 4 steps. And if you're new to the industry, you might not know that. So step 1 is design. You have to design your product. And for us, that means you need to know what it's going to look like. It can be a drawing. It could be a really horrible drawing. It's fine. You just need to get, or it could be an inspiration picture of something else that's similar with some notes on it of what you want to change. But there needs to be something on paper or, digital that is conveying what you want to make. You also need to know where your fabric comes from, which is a lot of what we're going to talk about today, and your trims. So that's what design means. It's like planning it out. What's it going to look like and what's it going to be made out of? Step 2, then you start prototyping, which today we're not going to talk about that much at all. We're just talking about the fabric sourcing in step 1. But after you do step 1, that's when you start making your prototypes. Step 3 is you get a tech design or a technical specification package made, which is like a blueprint for the manufacturer. And then step 4 is manufacture. So again, if you're new to the industry, you don't go from idea to manufacturing. You've got to do these steps beforehand. And this is, I've been teaching this process since 2006. And my company, the Apparel Mentor, that's what everything is based off of is, these 4 steps and how to walk through them. So about my company, the Apparel Mentor, you can check out the website, the Apparel Mentor. We also have an app that is on iOS or Android. You can download that app for free. And if you become a member, it unlocks all the lessons and all the topics and all the worksheets and all the videos of getting you through this 4-step process. It also gives you a mentor that you meet with once a week if you become a member. There's some free stuff on there too. So there's no obligation to download it. You don't sign up for anything. And then if you, decided you wanted to take that next step, you can become a member and it would unlock getting a mentor that you get to talk to once a week, which is huge. And then all of the content to walk you through those 4 steps I just mentioned. All right, let's talk about fabric. And welcome to those of you just joining. You can use that chat feature if you want to introduce yourself, or as we go today, you definitely ask questions using that chat feature. All right, so I always like to start out with the very, very first, most helpful advice that you can have as a new entrepreneur. Communicate your inspiration with swatches from garments you already own. If you want to make, I saw somebody out there wanted to make children's wear. So if you know you want to make children's wear, then, and you're trying to figure out what fabric it's going to be made out of, go shop in your closet, go shop at a baby store, go shop at a thrift store, but look at garments and pretend you're not looking at the garments, you're just looking at the garments as fabric, and buy what you like. So, if it's a baby sleeper, let's say, buy that baby sleeper. You might not like the garment at all, but if you like the fabric, buy it. Especially, it's really great if you can do that at a thrift store, because you cannot find the fabric you want at a fabric store. Fabric stores do not have garment fabric, they have crafters fabric. So you've got to go shopping retail garments to look for fabric. So that's the first thing you want to do, is just start gathering garments that you like the fabric on. Okay. And a really good investment is buying those garments. Again, at a thrift store, I think is a great place to do it. If you can't find what you like at a thrift store, you're going to have to buy it at retail, with the similar properties to what you're looking for, and then cut them up. I know it seems really weird, but we want to cut them up into swatches. So you've got a collection of swatches that you can start bringing to trade shows and, sending to fabric vendors, but you need to start having something in your hands that says, this is the fabric that I want, because that's the best way to skip literally 6 to 12 months of headache. Go find the fabric you like in a garment, cut it up into swatches, and now you've got what you want in your hand. And that's how you start communicating to people what you want. Okay. That is what we do in the industry. It is an industry standard to do that. This is not weird. This is the quickest way to cut out 6 to 12 months of back and forth of questions. Paris says, that's very true, because I've yet to go to a fabric store and find what I'm looking for. Exactly. Fabric stores are not going to have what you're looking for 99.9% of the time. Poshmark is another great option to find garment swatches. Chishetta or Daniel said, I think that's a really good point. And that's another, if you don't want to go to a thrift store, there's a lot of online places that you can definitely do that. But don't be afraid to cut it up. So I want you, again, go get the garments you like, cut it up into, 4x4, 5x4, 5x5, 6x6, just, you want to get some swatches about yay big. And again, that's how you start. That's the starting point. Do not skip over that. This is how we start. Now you've got a direction to go. Okay. It's too overwhelming to be looking at fabric online. You don't know what it means. Start this way. Second best advice I've got. Remember that the fabric vendors are here to sell you their fabric. That is their job. That is what they do. They do not have worked into their time to give you a big education about fabric. So really preparing yourself, which is part of what this webinar is, of how to approach them, the questions you need to ask, the information you need to give them. But they do not, fabric is the most confusing part of the process. You cannot get what you need. Even today in this 30-minute session, you are not going to get everything you need. It is definitely there's more content than that. But remember, they're here to sell you fabric. If you reach out to them and they can tell you don't know what you're asking for, you don't know what you're doing, they don't have time to explain it to you. And it's not because they're jerks. It's literally their job is to sell fabric. Their job is not to give you a class on fabric. Okay. So just remember that. It helps you kind of understand why some people aren't getting back to you, maybe, if you start reaching out. So preparation is key for sure. Michelle asked, sorry, I didn't see your motion. How big should the swatches be? They can be as small as 3x3. Yes, they can be. Ideally, you want them to be like, ideally 5 inches by 5 inches. 3x3, if that's all you got, that's better than nothing. So not a problem. Yep. Okay. Say you found a fabric that you like, but would like it a higher in weight class. How do you find what weight classes are available in each type of fabric? That's super great question. So if you find a fabric you like and you can't find the right weight that you want, definitely cut up the fabric you like. You got a starting point and you can start asking vendors, do you have this fabric but heavier? That's better than not having a swatch. So that's definitely fine. And then fabric can come in almost any weight to answer your question. It just depends on tons of things, but fabrics don't come in weights. They get knitted to whatever weight you specify, which I'm going to jump into that a little bit. Okay, so here's some questions that I want you to take note of. So when you do find a fabric vendor, which you're going to go to a trade show, you're going to find them online. Trade shows are the best. Fabric trade shows are the best way to kind of get a lot done in one short amount of time. If you can't do that, start looking at fabric mills, fabric vendors online. But after you find a fabric that you do like that they carry, you want to ask them, what's the price per yard or meter? Is it available now or is it available made to order? You want to get that question out of the way right away because you want to understand, is this the type of fabric vendor that stocks fabric? Or is this the type of fabric vendor that's going to make it after I order it? There's very different kinds of fabric vendors out there. So you want to understand what kind of fabric vendor they are. What's their minimum order quantity? What are the timelines for receiving the fabric after you order it? The country of origin, so where's the fabric made? You do need to know that eventually for your labeling in your garment. And then, are there any other features that you should know about the fabric? Like, is it wicking fabric or antimicrobial or recyclable or biodegradable or organic, just like any features that you should know. Okay, now we're going to jump into my favorite part of teaching about fabric. The number one thing that you can do as a mistake is look at your label of your garment. So I've got a label right here. This is 100% cotton. No, 80% cotton, 20% polyester. So this shirt I'm wearing is 80% cotton, 20% polyester. If I were to write an email or walk up to a fabric vendor and say, I would like 80% cotton fabric, 20% polyester, huge red flag that I have no idea what I'm doing, because that gives the fabric vendor no information on what you want. Okay. It's part of it's almost like, think of it like an ingredients list. There are, I say characteristics here, there are 5 ingredients to being able to describe fabric. If you only give me the ingredient of the fiber content, I have no idea what you want. It's like kind of saying, I'd like you to make me some biscuits, or I'd like you to make me a pie and there's flour in it, right? It's like, I have no idea what pie you want. I have no clue, right? And I don't know how big the pie is. I don't know what the filling is, all that. So do not just go off of the label. That is a huge red flag. The fabric vendor might not even answer you, because at that point they know you're going to be a lot of work, because they're going to have to do a lot of education. It's one of the ingredients, but you need way more than that, which is why I want you to have swatches. And one thing for you to think about, so like this shirt I have on, you can kind of see it's got a texture to it and stuff. It's 80% cotton, 20% polyester. oh, my t-shirt. So now I have a t-shirt on. This is just a regular t-shirt. So this t-shirt most likely could be the same content. It could be 80% cotton and 20% polyester. So now you can see the problem, right? If I write a vendor and say I want that content, they don't know if I'm talking about a t-shirt fabric. They don't know if I'm talking about a waffle woven fabric. Like, they don't know what I'm talking about. So it's if you start to look at your labels, you'll start to notice your jeans, your t-shirts, your sweaters, your hoodies probably have very similar contents. So that label's kind of, missing a ton of information. Does that make sense? Okay. So Gail asked a question, say you found a fabric you like. Oh, no, we already went over that one. Great. Okay. Characteristic number 2. Determine if you're looking for a knit or a woven. This is really, really important. You want to know if you're looking for knit fabric or a woven fabric, because the industry bifurcates. There's 2 different camps. The vendors either make knit fabric or they make woven fabric. The machinery at the mills either knit fabric or they weave fabric. Okay. So if I walk up to, a booth at a trade show and it's all knits, which I'm going to describe what that means, and I tell them I'm looking for a woven, it's not I'm wasting their time, I'm wasting my time. You just want to know if you're looking for a knit or a woven. So in most cases, a knit means it's stretchy. And yeah, and that's the best way I can explain it. So like t-shirt. So again, I have a t-shirt on, I can show you. See how I can stretch it? Okay. This is a woven. It doesn't stretch. It's like rigid. Like you can tell, like it just kind of stops, right? It's rigid. So wovens are generally rigid. They don't stretch. Knits stretch. They're made different. They have different machinery. There's different people in the industry that specialize in them. So you really want to start trying to figure out if you have a knit or a woven. If you don't know, again, that's why you want to go back to that swatch that you have, and you want to ask somebody at a trade show, or you want to send it to an expert. You want to join the Apparel Mentor and we'll tell you. But you do need to know if it's a knit or a woven that you're looking for. This is just like a illustration of, generally difference of why it's so important to understand like the whole mechanics of it, and the machinery that make it is different. So they're going to be different fabric mills. Okay. The third thing, after you know it's a knit or a woven, you eventually want to know what kind of knit or woven it is. Really important. So again, this is a woven shirt, but I know this is a waffle weave, right? It's not just a woven shirt. It's a waffle woven shirt. That's how I get this texture. So that's how I'm describing to somebody, I want a waffle woven fabric that is 80% cotton and 20% polyester. Now I've given more detail, right? I'm not just giving the content. I'm telling them I want it woven. I want a waffle woven. If that makes sense. So eventually you want to find that out. Hard for you to find that out. But again, that's why you want those swatches, and you want to start asking people at trade shows, do you know what kind of knit this is? Do you know what kind of woven this is? You want to learn what you want. Weight. I believe somebody asked about weight. So that's the next characteristic eventually that you should know about the swatch that you like. You want to say, do you know what weight this is? Those of us in the industry who've been doing this a long time can generally pick up a fabric, feel it with our hands, and get really close, like guess. This is a 280 grams per meter squared. This is 180 grams. We can get close. And so you want to start asking people, do you know what weight this is, or approximately what weight this is? You can go get it punched in a lab and you can find out exactly, but really when you're just kind of searching, you want to just get information from somebody who knows, who can touch your fabric, generally what weight this is. Because again, That's going to really change whether you like your fabric or not. The thing that you need to know is what gauge are the fibers. This is, so you can see here, I've got a small fiber and a large fiber. And let's just say this is a linen fabric I've got up on the screen, and I'm trying to show the textures. You can imagine this linen fabric right here. It's got really tiny fibers. You can see, you can barely kind of see them. And it's probably really flowy, right? Like think of a linen that might look like this, and it kind of blows in the wind and it's sort of nice and flowy, right? This is an extreme example. So let's say we look over at this fabric where fibers are really big, and let's say you move that fabric, it's gonna kind of move like a board, right? It's like boardy, it's gonna feel coarse. And that's an exaggeration of what happens when your fibers get smaller or your fibers get bigger. They get much more delicate and flowy as they get smaller, and they get more like boardy and stiff as the fibers get bigger, which again, you aren't going to know what gauge of yarn that you like, but if you have that swatch in your hand and you show it to somebody, they can tell because they've been in the industry for a long time. Oh, this is, there's 30 singles is like a word we might say. Like this is 30 singles, which means the gauge is really, really small. And I can tell that's what you're looking for. Or maybe you like a 1980s feel hoodie or t-shirt that's a little more stiff and heavy and boardy, which might be like a 12 singles. So again, all this stuff really makes difference. You might not know how to articulate it, but I want you to know that these 5 things are what a fabric vendor wants to know. They don't just want to know the content, they want to know these 5 things. And if you don't know them, that's why you have the swatch and you start asking people to tell you what these things are so you can record it. So now you start knowing what you're looking for. It's a way to skip over going to textile engineering school. You can get this done in, one trade show, basically, if you're walking around with swatches. Got a question. What if I'm concerned about sustainability? What are your thoughts on sourcing dead stock fabric? I'm beginning to understand the need to offer a product that someone wants and not merely what I think is ideal. Yeah, sustainability. Those are the questions you want to ask your fabric vendor. How's the fabric made? Where is it made? What's the dyeing process? Is it biodegradable? Like you want to start paying attention to those questions if that matters to you. Sourcing dead stock fabric is great. The problem with it that you have to be aware of is if you buy some dead stock, you make some garments, they sell out, and everyone loved that fabric, you can't get more of it. That's all that it's just kind of, you just have to know that that's your business model. You can't go order more fabric. You have to find something else. So it just is a little more different way of running the business. All right. We're getting close to time, so I'm going to speed up a little bit, but there are 3 different types of fabric vendors. Tier 1 is what we've named them. It's not an industry standard. So in the Apparel Mentor program, Tier 1 is the fabric vendors have fabric sitting on a shelf. You can order it. Usually has small minimum order quantities because you're just like, oh, you have this waffle woven sitting on a shelf. I want it in cream. Could you send me a roll? That's Tier 1. Tier 2, which is more common, would be a fabric vendor shows you a swatch like this. You like that fabric and then you order it and then they go weave it. It doesn't exist. That is the most common way to get fabric in the industry. I've got all these swatches actually behind me. So this might be, you go to a trade show, you might see something like this. And you're like, oh, I like this fabric. Can I order some? They generally don't have it sitting on a roll waiting for you to order it. They will say, sure. What color would you like? How many yards would you like? And they will go knit or weave it for you. That is the most common way to get garment fabric. But it also is difficult if you're new starting out. So that's why it's really important to ask the fabric vendor, is it available now or is it made to order, so you understand if they're a good fit for you. because if it's made to order, you might have to order more yardage than you want. You might have to wait longer than you want. So you probably, when you're new, you're looking for people that are stocking fabric, and you want to order what they already have on the shelf. So you can't be as picky about colors. You can't be as picky about what you're getting. You're more looking what's available that already exists. But again, the most common way, when if you can invest a lot of money in your brand, or when you get bigger and you're selling more, this is the most common way to get fabric. You can pretty much get anything you want. It's literally the sky's the limit. It's just they have to make it for you. It's not sitting there waiting for you to come get it. All right. I got a question. Do we need to worry about health risks with fabrics, rashes, toxins, lead, etc.? The best way, there's a couple different ways you can test fabric. You can wear it and see, see if anything happens. Or if you're really worried about it, you would bring it to a lab and get it tested for toxicity. You can run a lead test on it and things like that. Generally, you shouldn't be worried about it. I mean, generally, most fabrics are safe. It's not like it's a huge problem in the industry, but it happens. So if you're really concerned, then you really need to know, then you can send it to a fabric testing lab and they can tell you. I'm actually gonna skip through. So let's go through here. Getting color in your fabric. There's a few different ways. There's 3 different ways. We do something that's called piece dye. So that's the most common way. So again, I'm just going to keep going back to the shirt. If this shirt is piece dyed, what happens is they will weave a whole bunch of white fabric, and then they'll take 1,000 yards and they'll dye it this cream color, and they'll take another 1,000 yards and dye it blue, and another 1,000 yards and dye it green or whatever. And that's called piece dye, where it's knitted white and then you dye it in lots. Yarn dye is where the actual fibers are dyed first, and then they weave the fabric. Okay, and that's usually the highest quality type of that you can get. And then another way is you sew up all of your garments in white, and then you dye the garments. So there's kind of 3 different ways to get color, and it's just kind of good for you to be aware of them. But most of what you're going to see out there is what we call piece dye. I do want to walk you through. So I'm happy to answer questions, but I do want to walk you through. We've got the Apparel Mentor program. If you found today helpful, this is literally just like scratching on the surface of what I teach you in the Apparel Mentor program, which is $149 a month. I absolutely love doing this. It is definitely my passion, revealing the mysteries of the apparel industry. Again, this fabric part is really where we get stuck. We actually have 3 weeks that we spend on fabric, helping you. Like, again, I just breezed through it today, but we slow down, help you identify all the different parts. What are your next steps? How do you approach this problem? We spend 3 weeks on fabric, and then the whole thing, there are, I think, 20 topics that we go through in total that get you from idea to getting your product manufactured. You can sign up at the apparelmentor.com. You can also download the app, the Apparel Mentor, and you can sign up on there. These are some of the topics that we go over, that I'm not going to read through all of them, but you can kind of see them on your screen. But these are all of the topics that you need if you want to be successful, which again, I haven't told you, but I've probably helped over 5,000 apparel entrepreneurs since I've been doing this. And so, these are the established topics that you need to be familiar with if you're going to be successful. So we've got a bunch of YouTube things out there. I also have a book that I wrote right here. If you know a apparel entrepreneur, although I'm sure you all are, there are some specials on Amazon right now for the holidays. But I have taken everything you learn in the Apparel Mentor program and I have put that in a book. I've woven in stories in there. It's getting really good reviews. It just came out this year. But if you really, really are serious, I would recommend getting this book, joining the Apparel Mentor program, which is $149 a month. You get to meet with a mentor once a week for that, which is 4 times for that $149. You also get, it unlocks all those topics. There's worksheets that work along with it, and then you can also use the book to work along with the program as well. Just depends on how serious you are and what you want to invest in it. But I will tell you, if you're serious and you want to be successful, this is what we do. Yeah. Let's see, I've got a couple of questions here. It's a great program. I intend to enroll again. Oh, Gail. Yeah, I do. Yeah, that'd be great. We'd love to have you back. Dean, what was the third fabric vendor? Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's why I skipped it. Irrelevant. Can we join anytime? It's a great question. Yes, Michelle, you can join anytime. It's written as kind of a rolling program. So we go through 20 topics. If you jump in at topic 10, that's totally fine. We just make sure you get through all the topics. So if you jump in at topic 10, we go to topic 20 and we start over at 1, and then you'll get back to 10, and you can cancel anytime as well. There's no obligation. Yeah. Any experiences without of USA manufacturing? Yeah. So the Apparel Mentor program and everything I just taught you today too is exactly the same overseas. The process is same here, same overseas. You still need to find your fabric. You still need to communicate what fabric you want. You still need your swatches. You still need to know the 5 characteristics. The entire process is the same, with tiny little nuances that are different, but the steps are the same. You still have to go through the same steps. And yes, do I personally have experiences making overseas? Yes. When I started my career, so from 1999 to 2010, I was making stuff overseas and the US. And then since 2010, I've only been making it in the US. But again, same process, same exact process. Also the same process for, cut and sew accessories. Doesn't have to be apparel. It's really the cut and sew industry. The process that I've written here it's the core process of getting something from idea to manufacturing. Paris says, are the topics in order that could they be addressed in the order needed? Great question. They are in order of generally how you would tackle things. But if you join the Apparel Mentor program, how it works is there's a topic of the week. And you would, there's a video you would watch, which is only like a 15-minute video. There's a worksheet that you can do that goes along with that video. And then you would meet with your mentor. And when you meet with your mentor, you meet in a group. So it's kind of like you and maybe anywhere from like 5 to 10 tops other people would get on a meeting like this, but we could all see each other. And then everybody just goes around the room and they ask, what their questions are for the week. So you don't have to remain on topic. So let's say the topic of the week was, I don't know, like tech pack, right? But you wanted to talk about fabric. Absolutely no problem. When it is your turn to talk during that mentoring meeting, you absolutely can talk about anything you want. It's just the topic of the week is kind of the anchor for the meeting. And then you can talk about whatever you need from that mentor. You also get to message the mentor 24/7. And then you also, another part of the program, so we have apparel mentors that get assigned to these groups. And then I do a once a month meeting that's an hour and a half, and anybody who's a member can also come to that. So once a week, you meet with a mentor who is not me, but somebody who's made thousands of products. And then once a month, there's an available meeting to meet with me as well. Hopefully that makes sense. Is there a portion of your program that deals strictly with locating manufacturers? Yes, there is. I believe there's 2 topics on that. But again, we want to make sure you've got all your stuff ready before you start locating, because you can't work with them until you've got all the stuff ready. And then once it's time to locate, yes, we talk about, the things you want to look for. How do you decide who you want to work with? What are the steps of approaching them? And how do you vet which manufacturer you want to work with? We definitely walk through those steps. And we also have a list of resources when you become a member of fabric vendors and manufacturers that you can approach if you aren't finding what you want on your own. For sure. All right, I think I got through all the questions. This is just a little bit more about the book. But again, you can buy this book on Amazon, Target, Barnes and Noble, anywhere, any book retailer you might want to find. I think right now, I saw it on sale on Amazon. I think it's running about $26, which it's literally my last 15 years of helping apparel mentors, like condensed into one book and step by step with stories. So pretty excited about it. Thank you, Dean. Thank you. Thanks everyone to attend, and hopefully I will see you in the Apparel Mentor program. Have a good holiday, everyone.